It's 2024 and it's Wednesday and it's time for another Business Analysis Live. My name is Susan Moore. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at IIBA.
And my name is Scott Bennett. I'm the Manager of Business Analysis here at the International Institute of Business Analysis. Thank you for joining us live at the start of 2024. Wow, that's hard to believe, isn't it?
It is.
Today, what we're going to do is look back. It's been a couple of years since Susan and I tried this experiment of doing a podcast. We're going to look back at the best of Business Analysis Live, both on a YouTube perspective and on the audio front on our podcast. So we're going to walk you through some of those. But there's also the saying, what happens in Vegas maybe doesn't stay in Vegas.
Maybe it
Susan and
doesn't.
I have a treat for you near the end of this episode. So make sure you stick with us so you can see that surprise there. I guarantee you it's worth a laugh. So let's jump into it, Susan. When you reflect back over the last couple of years of us doing this podcast, do you have any sort of favorite thoughts or favorite chuckles that you had in our experience going live?
I sometimes think about some of the live moments that made it to air because we are live and that's what makes it fun. It also really makes us have to lean into some of those resilience and flexibility skills that we sometimes talk about business analysis professionals need to have, like the time that my dog off camera was throwing up while we were just having a pleasant conversation.
Yeah, yeah,
That kind of stuff.
yeah.
Lots of laughs.
Well, we are live today. We're live streaming on both LinkedIn Live and YouTube. So if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. We're going to take those questions as we get a little closer to the end of the episode. So we always like to take those. So please put your comments or questions in there, and we will display those on the screen as we go through. So Susan, why don't we start the number one, I guess, most viewed video on our YouTube channel that we put out is business analysis job interview questions. This was a session that we had with Yulia Kosarenko.
Kosarenko. That's it.
Thank you.
Our friend Yulia. Yeah, and actually she did two with us last year, but this was the top performing. I think she also had the flip side of this too. So if you are thinking in 2024 about getting ready for some job interviews, you should watch both because it comes from the interviewer and the interviewee perspective. But I always like having Yulia Kozarenko come in and join us because she's just got a lot of good tips and a lot
Sure.
of good information.
Yeah. Yeah, that was certainly a fun episode, and we featured a little clip of her when we were in Vegas, where we sort of introduced Business Analysis Live to that audience for the very first time. So that was very fun. Okay,
Yeah.
I geek out on YouTube analytics. I love digging into the data. That first one has got 26% of our Business Analysis Live view, so
Mm,
that was a fair bit. The rest of them were less percentage,
okay.
but this is probably no surprise. Chat GPT and business analysis was another episode that was really popular. We've had a lot of conversations with people about AI and how that impacts business analysis, how it's going to impact business in general. And it's really something that people are paying attention to. And I think it is justified that people are paying attention to this AI technology.
Yeah, this one is actually the top performing podcast on Spotify for us as well. So I think what that should tell us is, yep, AI is something that business analysis professionals are interested in. And a couple of notes on that is we've actually got another, I think, AI topic coming up in 2024. So make sure that you join us for that one because it's something that you'll want to hear. But also, speaking of Vegas, right? This actually inspired what we might be showing you later um, uh, about our Vegas trip. So this one actually had some legs to it, literally.
Yeah, we'll give a little bit of a hint of to what we're going to talk about a little bit later. Susan and I had the honor of being keynote speakers at the BBC conference in Las Vegas. And that chat was talking about the impact of AI on business analysis. We're going to feature some of the more entertaining aspects of that a little bit later.
Yes, and also a shout out to Fabrizio Laguna, who also joined us on stage. And, I got to give him a lot of credit because he was the one who really encouraged us to do some of the fun stuff that we did on stage. So,
That's right. Yeah, yeah. It was a very creative collaboration. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, it sure was.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's move on to the third one here. What is gap analysis? Now, Susan, you and I didn't have a guest for this one. This was you and I talking about what is business analysis and sorry, what is gap analysis and how that relates. People also see this a little bit later, but that idea of what's the current state? What are we working through? What do we have as a challenge right now? And then envisioning that future state. That whole idea of gap analysis between those two, it really seemed to resonate with people, understanding, how you get from one to the other, how do you identify that gap? Were there any items that really stood out for you in that conversation?
I think we throw some of these words around in organizations. And so I think part of it is people are just wondering, what is this stuff? But I don't remember if it was this one or if it was a related conversation that we had. But very often, gap analysis, current state, future state, gets a bad rap as being a phase of a project.
Sure.
And it is not. It is not a phase of a project. It is something that you can do throughout the course of your work. And I think that was a really important takeaway. So, we do work a little bit to make sure that we use words that get people's attention. So clearly, this one on YouTube got their attention. Interestingly, this one is not in the top 5 over on Spotify. Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe we need to promote a little bit so people can get some value out of that.
Yes. Yep.
But but that's part of the reason that we're doing this as well, is to let people know, what are people watching on this channel. And in the YouTube video, we'll put some links to those so you can easily get to them. Those of you who are listening to the audio, um, you'll hear us call out the titles of those episodes.
And I'll include those in the description over on Spotify as well.
Oh, you can do that?
Oh, yeah. So you'll be able, if you only listen to us on Spotify, you'll be able to get to all of these podcasts. I'll
Oh,
do that.
that's great. Okay, sounds good. So let's move on to the next one. We had a guest that joined us, Angelo Calavella. And this was really interesting. We talked about UX design for business analysts, and it was a really interesting conversation around UX design. And I've got a few notes here. He was talking about design thinking that uses the cycle of 5 elements. First of all, empathize, and then define, and then ideate, create your ideas, and then prototype, and then test. He said this is a cycle that you continually go through. And it was a video that really resonated with people early on. And it's continuing to play strong as people understand UX design and how those considerations can help you be a better business analysis professional.
This was a really good one, and because I think for so many business analysis professionals, we either have to do some UX design, we might aspire to become a UX, a user experience designer. So, with Angelo's background, he actually came from a business analysis background and moved into this. So we also had that conversation as well. And it was right on as he was about to do a workshop for the Atlanta chapter, and that that episode got people interested in going to the Atlanta chapter's virtual event, and so they could see more and hear more from him. Um, so this was also a really great episode that we did.
Yeah. And for those of you who are joining us that are not familiar with IIBA, we do have chapters around the world. And so when Susan says chapter, it's that local chapter. And these are local organizations that run meetings, bring the community together in a particular city or region so that these professionals can support and help each other.
Yeah, we are up to I think 119 chapters all over the world. So, if you're wanting to connect with a community of people who do what you do, who understand the things that business analysis professionals do, chapters are a great way to network, to learn, just to meet other people. So, that's a great benefit of IIBA membership, by the way. Plug,
Yep,
plug.
yep, for sure. Okay, so those were the top 4 videos on our YouTube channel. Now let's talk about on the podcast platform. There were a few more that didn't have that intersection, that overlap. The first one was the top 9 business analysis skills.
Yes. And this was inspired from the annual business analysis survey that we do, that we send out to our thousands of members all over the world. And so there were 9 skills that we identified there, and I probably should have written them down so that we could talk
I've got
about
the
them.
list here. We can walk through it.
You did? Okay. So, but that's where this came from. And it was also inspired by a blog post that was written. And so this one has gotten a lot of traction because I think if you are new to the profession or thinking about the profession, you are probably thinking, what are the skills that I need to develop or bring to the table in order to do this work? So, what are
Yep.
those skills?
So I've got a list here. They go from least likely to most likely. I guess the most popular at the end, sort of Dave
Hmm.
Letterman style. Countdown. So leadership and influencing was number 9. Systems thinking was number 8. Creative thinking was number 7. Then it came decision making, and then agile mindset. Then we get into facilitation, one of my favorite topics. And then it was business knowledge. The second from the top was problem solving. And what did I leave out? Number 1, communication
Number one,
skills.
communication. Yeah,
Yeah.
big time. Big time. And in last year, actually in all of the years that we've done this podcast, we have focused on communication because really that is such an essential skill for business analysis professionals. So you will get lots of different flavors of that if you are looking across our library. You'll see that we kind of take it from all kinds of perspectives, because really it's not so much the technical skills, the tools that you use. Really the work that we do involves like a good grasp of communication skills.
Yeah, that's right. And I notice that our viewer count is increasing as we're going along here. So for those of you that joined us a little bit late, we are taking questions live. So put your questions in and we can pull them up on the screen. We can respond to them. And we've got one more topic before we jump into our What Happens in Vegas segment.
Hmm.
So the other podcast that really jumped out for people was how to run effective meetings. We had 5 essential elements to that, and we can walk through those. But Susan and I talked about this topic, and we thought it was really important for people because, organizationally, you don't typically have any training on running meetings. So there were a number of topics that we chatted through on this particular topic, because when you're chairing a meeting, when you're organizing a meeting, it's definitely a skill that takes some planning, some thinking, and practice as well.
Yeah, there's too many poorly run meetings. And because many of us work virtually or we have hybrid work that we do, our days can be filled up with these. So if you are someone that gets a reputation for really knowing how to run effective meetings, and it's not just what you do in the meeting, it's what you do before and after that also matters. But if you get a reputation for knowing how to have great meetings, you will get results. You really will. People will want to come to your meetings and participate in a way that will get you the outcomes you need. So this is a
Absolutely.
really great one and it is loaded with tips, tricks, and I think we even tackle some technology in there as well.
Yeah, so I've got some notes here from the session. We talked about the making sure you're clear on the objective of the meeting, include an agenda so the attendees know whether they should be the one attending or not. So once you've got that agenda, people can decide whether they're going to attend. Um, Only invite relevant attendees. The larger a meeting, more difficult it is to manage. Start on time, end on time. If you do that consistently, as Susan mentioned, you'll get a reputation for running effective meetings. If you're starting and ending on time, particularly ending on time, people will be thankful. If you want to be a real hero and 5 minutes early, people
That's
can get
right.
take a bio break before their next meetings. And then the other one was take notes to document decisions. Now, depending on your organization and how people operate, that may be really important. It might be less important. But when you're working on larger, more complicated things, typically documenting those decisions that you made in those meetings can be very useful to come back to in the future.
Yeah, sometimes decisions have a way of getting unmade. So if you if you have the decisions documented by whom and when, then it's easy to come back to that. So that even if it needs to be revisited, you know how you got there the first time. Yeah.
That's right.
Decision
Yeah,
making, right? It was one of the top skills
that's
from
right.
that other podcast. See how it all connects? All of this connects.
Yeah, it all hangs together.
That's right. That's right.
So, Susan, you and I had a fantastic opportunity in May to be on stage with Fabrizio to do this keynote presentation, and it was about the intersection of AI and business analysis. But we had a little fun with it. We were working with Fabrizio, who, for those of you who are not familiar with Fabrizio Laguna, he's a very creative person. So the three of us were collaborating on how do we put this together in a meaningful way that is both impactful, informative, yet entertaining.
Because it's
So
Las Vegas.
it's Las Vegas, baby. um, so we're going to show you some footage, two different videos. Unfortunately, we weren't able to record and live stream it, so we thought we'd share a little bit of what happened. The first video we're going to share with you is our rehearsal. So the audio isn't great. There's a few different tones in the audio, but you get a flavor for what this presentation was about. And then we're going to show you a moment that went viral. It's a video from someone in the crowd. They took it on their phone. We posted on LinkedIn, and it got tons of likes. So it was a lot of fun. I guarantee you're going to have a giggle through this. So let's start off with the first one here. And Susan, I'll leave our cameras on the side here so people can see us. It's Wednesday morning, and that means it's time for another Business Analysis Live. My name is Scott Bennett. I'm the manager of business analysis at IIBA. We're here live at the BBC conference in Las Vegas. So, in Las Vegas style, ladies and gentlemen, from North Carolina, please welcome the talented, the analytical, IIBA's Manager of Community Engagement, Susan Moore. Wow, Susan, that was quite the intro.
Well, hey, listen, when you're a dancer and they ask you if you want to open in Vegas, this is what it looks like.
That was fantastic. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. For those of you that are familiar maybe with the movie Viva Las Vegas, it's an Elvis Presley movie. I was channeling some Anne Margaret there, at least an attempt at it. But yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah, and it was a chance, Susan, for you to show what you're really passionate about. Yeah, I hear so much about your dance and how that's important to you, and it has been through the years. How did that feel, being able to share that with an audience in such an important, iconic place?
It was a strange mixture because we often have our professional lives and then the things that we do outside of work. And it was a weird mixture of putting them together. And I think I was a little bit nervous, but because I've done a lot of theater and I've done a lot of dancing over the years, there was something about that moment where the music turned on and I came on stage where I immediately felt comfortable. And in retrospect, I thought, boy, I'm actually glad I had that moment because I wasn't as nervous as speaking because I've performed in front of crowds tons. And
Okay.
so I just kind of channeled my dancer and that was a way to handle the anxiety. So it was
Wow.
strange, but fun.
You got into business mode and just went for it.
Exactly. My other business, which is
Yeah,
dancing. Yeah. So
yeah.
it was great. Well, what did you think about it? Being on stage and having that opportunity?
Well, I thought it was really fun. I've done a lot of public speaking. I'm a trained speaker from Toastmasters. We've talked about Toastmasters a lot and building communication skills. For me, it actually felt quite comfortable. As a YouTuber, I've got hundreds of videos out there. I'm used to being in front of a camera, and you and I doing this podcast, we've got lots of experience. So to me, it felt very comfortable. That might sound strange, but I enjoyed it. It's great being able to talk to a live audience again. It's been so many years we haven't been able to do that. But I like speaking to an audience where you can see people's eyes light up when something resonates, or they're sort of sitting back and they're getting a little bit bored. You can crank it up a little bit, right?
Yep. Yeah. And, I probably as business analysis professionals, there may be some folks listening to us today thinking, whew, I don't ever have to do that. But, I do think being able to stand up and talk to people is an important part of the work that we do.
Yeah.
So, even though we do these things in front of audiences outside of our day jobs, actually, we're able to bring some of that into the work that we do. We probably hone some of those skills because, what you were seeing on stage there is a result of a lot of practice. That's really how you get good at these skills. You just have to do it and find
Okay.
opportunities to do it. So,
Yeah.
so just a reminder, practice, practice
That's
makes
right.
perfect.
Yeah. So we've got another video here, as I mentioned before. This is one filmed from the audience. Susan, why don't you set this one up?
Oh, where to start? Again, so Fabricio Laguna, who is the Brazilian BA, as we were thinking about ways to make this a really engaging talk, when you talk about AI, right, people get nervous about the technology and what does it mean for us as business analysis professionals. The overarching theme of the talk, though, is that the part that is not left, but the part that is most important that we can take away in our interactions with AI is the human side. That's what's really most important. And so we thought, what is the best way that we could have fun with this human interaction thing? And it was to create a dance. And this was Fabricio's idea. He was like, you have to have a dance. We have to do this dance. And so driving my car and thinking, I came up with a dance, which actually, by the way, was the title of one of the broadcasts that we just talked about. It's 3 steps, and it's called the Business Analysis Boogie. And we taught the audience this dance.
Yeah. So here we go. We'll play the video.
To know these moves, right? So the first move, we're going to point down. It's the current state. That's what this move is called.
Oops.
Right here, this is where we're starting. We're starting in current state. There we go. All right. And what comes after the current state? Well, we got to do the future state. So we're looking, and we're looking to the future. Maybe we're looking for some stakeholders too, but we are looking for the future. Here we go. All right. We got one more move, and what are we going to do with that current future state? Well, we got to weave them together and find the gaps. So this is the gap. All right.
Stop. The gap is difficult.
Now,
I guess you can do it better with music. What do you think?
I think so.
Let's try it with music.
Here we go. You ready? All right. I'm going to give you a count. Here we go. In current state. Current state. Yep, you got it. Now we're moving to the future state. And future. You got it. Now give me some gas. Oh, yeah, some gas. You guys are great. All set. Now we're going to start again. Because we're on the new project, we got to know who we are. And future. Scott, by the way, looking good with the dad version. Excellent. There we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for
Scott doing the dad moves. Also, you're a good dancer. So you were playing a role on stage because you were actually kind of maybe I shouldn't be telling you were doing some dancing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it was funny, after that everyone's saying, "Oh, Scott's got the dad moves." I had someone from our staff was jeering me a little bit about, "Oh, you got dad moves." So there was an event later in Las Vegas where we had an opportunity to dance. So I redeemed my reputation.
Yeah, that dance actually became, I think it became a line dance. I think I saw it at the 20th the 20th anniversary party that we had. And since then, as Fabrizio has gone around the world to do a variation of that AI talk, he's also been including the dance.
Yeah.
So if you've seen Fabrizio in Brazil or Portugal or Australia, and I think he's been to someplace else, you've learned that dance. And when I was headed to Poland, which I have my mug, when I went to the IIBA Poland chapter summit, and I talked with Fabrizio, and I said, "What should I do the dance?" And he said, "It's the best part of the talk. You have to do the dance." And so 260 people in Warsaw also learned the dance. So it's it's a way that I think it's a fun and energizing way to kick off these live events, and live events are back. Yay.
Yes.
But it also kind of creates its own community, right? Because it's something that business analysis professionals understand, and it's also it's a fun dance. So there you go, the business analysis boogie.
And Susan, thank you for bringing that to our business analysis community. It's a simple dance for people to learn, even for people that are challenged to dance, like I was demonstrating there. But it's something that I think gives people something to talk about. So this is an element of you bringing every part of you to work. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you because you and Fabricio both brought your own talents as well to this. I mean, now the thing that we wish that we could share with everybody was Fabricio's talking to Chat GPT, which was hysterical. But just the video work that you did, and the conversation that we had, it was just great. I mean, yeah, it was good, and I'm so disappointed that we weren't able to bring the whole thing to video, because I know we wanted to release it as a broadcast, but
Yeah.
oh
Yeah.
well.
So hopefully people enjoyed that. We'll see in the comments here. Why don't we jump in there and see if we've got questions or maybe comments from people that are either on LinkedIn or on YouTube.
Yeah. So all right, so let's start to share some stuff. So this first question is actually a great question, since we're also doing a little bit of the behind the scenes today. Tochukwu asked, "Happy New Year. Does this session count as a CDU?" And it does. You actually get half a CDU for every one of these that you listen to. How about that? And this is season 3, and we've got like 55 of these. So that's a whole lot of CDUs that you can accumulate.
That's right. And
Are-
if you're not familiar with CDUs, it's continuous development units. They're used for our IIBA certification. So I have a CBAP certification here on my wall. I noticed our viewer there had 2 of them. So they
Ah,
need lots of CDUs.
yeah, that's true. He is thinking about that CBAP, and then actually this other one is it is a Scrum certification, Scrum product owner.
Okay.
That's what that one is. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Danielle has our next question. How do you manage budget and scope of a defined project if you allow continuous gap analysis and current future state adjustments? Well, Danielle, I think it is a fair question. And again, I don't necessarily know that, this is my 2 cents. I don't think that you always have to act on the outcome of a gap analysis. The gap, and I feel like I said something that I considered controversial, which is not all gaps are bad. Some of them are opportunities, and I think we got some questions about that. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think of this as necessarily identifying change. But what do you think about this?
I think it depends on that approach. If you're taking a planned approach or what people call waterfall, that's where I have most of my experience in my career. You definitely need to do that gap analysis up front because you need to know what you're dealing with to plan it all out. But if you're dealing with an agile, iterative type of project, you are, I think, going to get more into that continual gap analysis. And Susan, you've had more experience in the agile space. In that agile space, I think that's sort of the expectation, right? Is sort of you need to uncover what you need to work on next.
Yeah, it is. And as I'm thinking about this, and again, this isn't necessarily, it's not a phase, but it could be something that you are just doing on a regular basis. So let's use let's use just a personal example. So I'm looking for a new car. And so what do I need to do? Well, what is the kind of car I have now? What are the features that I like of it? And what are the features that I would like to have? And then what are the gaps in between those two things? Are those gaps something that I even need to do anything about, or not? So to me, if you're looking at something like a user story or even a bug, you would be doing gap analysis. So I don't think of gap analysis as a big way to create requirements. I simply think of it as the way that you figure out what's missing, or what are your opportunities. So Danielle, hopefully we answered that question.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question is, how long does this course go for, and where can someone enroll abroad? And I think the question is this. And while this isn't a course, it's actually just a live broadcast. It's a good question, because how long does it go? Typically, we're right at about 40 minutes. We 15 to 20 minutes of just kind of talking, and then what we do is we take the questions from the audience for the rest of the time. So there's really no enrolling. If this is a if there's a topic that you're interested in, we would love to hear it. You can actually put that in comments as well. But no, join us every 2 weeks, right here on LinkedIn and now on YouTube, and we just kind of talk about business analysis topics. So
Yeah, so we've done over 50 episodes. So either on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform, there's lots of content there for you to take a look at. And we would love, if you are listening to the podcast, love a rating. That would certainly help people find our podcast. But it's been doing very well. A lot of people tuning into it, and lots of listens.
let's see. And speaking of YouTube, Christopher is watching us on YouTube right now. He said that was funny and cool. So that was in response to the dance. Thank you, Christopher. And then here's another one. This is from Raymond. Always happy to attend an IIBA live event. I love the casual professional approach. You and I have talked about that this is really intended to be kind of a practitioner chat. It's just how a couple of people that have been doing this for a while might be talking about a particular topic.
Yeah, and we're very intentional in that we're not operating from a script. These are not presentations. These are not how-tos. This is really us talking, usually with a guest, about a particular topic, and you, the audience, having the opportunity to ask some questions. So it is intended to be relaxed yet professional. So thank you, Rainford, for that comment. That's rewarding.
Yeah, that is good. And then here is Marianne, who I actually had a chance to meet when I was at BBC in Las Vegas. She says she got to see that live and in person. It was great fun. So hello, Marianne. Thank you. And congrats on that CBAP. She's had that for a little while, but so there you go. Let's see. What else do we have? Then we got here's a question. How to deal with technical skills mentioned in a BA job description. So some of the tools like SAP or SAS or an ERP knowledge for some specific system analyst jobs. How do you deal with the technical skills? Well, I might recommend either of Yulia Kozarenko's broadcast with us,
Yeah.
because I think we tackle some of that, how to prepare, like how to read the job postings and also how to prepare to answer those. But I think how to deal with technical skills mentioned. Well, I think if they're looking for particular technical skills, you'll probably want to make sure that you have them as defined, or that you have a similar experience or experience with a similar tool.
Yeah, I feel like the technical questions in interviews are more binary. Either you've got them or you don't. If you've got them, you can demonstrate a little bit about them. If you don't, the challenge is, how do you position yourself in a way that, you know what, I've got this full suite of skills, and this is one that I can learn and pick up quickly. It sort of becomes a little bit of a selling job. You can also ask another question, right? So how significant is this technology piece in the particular role to get a feel for it. Maybe the hiring manager needs you to do 2% of the job on that particular technology, in which case, they might be willing to take all the other skills that you've got and invest a little bit in the training.
Yeah, great answer. Because I do think technical skills.
I
Yep.
put the title of Yulia's presentation there. So it's business analysis job interview questions. So either YouTube or on the podcast.
Yep. Okie doke. So let's see. Here we go. Next question. How can one certify in business analysis? What are the costs involved and can the exam be taken online? So this is a great question because I know that in some of our broadcasts we have also talked about certifications. Um, IIBA has 7. There's 3 core certifications, 4 specialty certifications, and Brenda is monitoring our comments. So, Brenda, if you could drop a link to where folks could get more information on the certifications. This is a question that we get frequently because I think there's a lot of interest in them. That page will also give you more information about the costs and the requirements for getting certified. And yes, the answer is they can be taken online. There is online remote proctoring, which you remember we did an episode on that one too. We actually had our director of certifications come on and talk about online proctoring.
Yeah. And Susan, you've got your CBAP. I've got my CBAP. I also have the CBDA, the data analytics.
Yep.
So the certifications are beneficial in that you get external validation that you know what you're talking about. So we recently had someone who's in their first year in their career. They started off with an entry certificate to business analysis. It's ECBA. And that helped them land their first job because that ECBA certification demonstrates you understand business analysis and you can speak the language of business analysis. So depending on where you are in your career, there are various levels, either entry certificate or CBAP, where you've got approximately 5 to 7 years of experience. And then there are some specialty ones as well. So yeah, check them out.
I've also got an agile analysis certification. So if and there's a product ownership one as well as cybersecurity one. So and this is a good way. You and I have both talked about how the process of studying helped us to uncover areas that we didn't have experience in, which is very common. It is not common for everybody to have done everything in any of the standards and guides. So don't worry if you're reading this and think, I have never done whatever. In your case, it was requirements traceability.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very common for BAs to not have done it all. Let's see. How about Ernest? Ernest has a question. What's the best place to begin? I'm an aspiring business analysis professional with some experience in business development. I think the podcast that you were talking about launching your business analysis career, actually, that would be maybe a good one for Ernest. And that's a relatively recent one that we did because it was Sachin was very thorough in explaining how he got interested in it. And I think it could be a possible roadmap if you're thinking about becoming a business analysis professional.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So launching your business analysis career was the title on that one. So check that one out, Ernest.
Yep, lots of good ideas there. Let's see. Oh, are there classes to attend or I just register? Okay, I think this one relates to the certification question, and the answer is there are a little bit of all of those things, and I think that link will help to guide you where to go. Let's see, maybe we just take one more here. This is from Christopher again. Christopher has been trying to get in touch with the Atlanta chapter, but haven't received any responses. So I want to do a call out. If anyone here, I know that the Raleigh/RTP chapter leader is in the house. I see you. I see you, Felicia. I don't know if any of our other chapter leaders are online today. If you are with the Atlanta chapter, please reach out to Christopher. He's trying to connect with you. But also, if you're from another chapter and want to connect, Christopher, the great thing about our chapters is you don't necessarily have to be in that location to connect with them. And we've got chapters north and south of you. So but it's a great way to get started.
And if people aren't
All
able to
right.
connect through LinkedIn, you can always reach us at live@business or at IIBA.org. That's the way you can reach out to Susan and I. If you've got some topic ideas of things you'd like to see, if you've got suggestions or just want to say hello, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, I think this has been a great one. We're looking forward to an exciting 2024. We're lining up all of our guests. And again, if you guys, if you've got topics for us, you can put them here or you can just send us an email. We are always interested in things that you want to know because that makes for a really engaging broadcast for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Speaking of next time, I'll leave it
Yeah.
with you, Susan, to tell people what we're up to in 2 weeks.
Well, I did mention that communication skills are pretty important, and so we're going to be talking with a guest. Her name is Jane Azamwege. We're going to talk about building your communication skills. She's got a really interesting story, and she's going to share it with you. So we will see you 2 weeks from today on both of these platforms. Thanks for joining us.